Hello. Alrighty. So I know this was super last minute, and I don't know if anyone is going to hop on, but I figured we could try some reading sprints together, which I am new to. So I'm sure many of you here are much more of a pro than me. I just realized I forgot to turn my fan off, and that will impact the audio. So give me 1 second. Okay. If you are here, go ahead if you feel like it and say hello. Let me know what you're working on tonight in terms of reading. Of course, I am going to use this opportunity to get a little further in the Viscount Who Loved Me. I'm going to go ahead. I think I put it in the description box, but I'm going to go ahead and post the link to the story graph for the read along in the chat as well, just in case anyone wants to join us over there. And don't be afraid to chat there, chat here, what have you. All right. So I had great intentions to buy myself a paperback with this read along, but so far I've still been working on the Kindle copy I bought for season 2, my season 2 refresh. Thank you so much for joining me for this. I am really excited about this. I know it's like kind of like smaller, but I've really appreciated the community that has been growing since, especially with Bridgerton, but especially around all of this. So I'm very excited to kind of have this space for us and for everyone who has joined me. So I'm working on the Viscount Who Loved Me. Is everyone else working on the Viscount Who Loved Me, or do we have people reading other things that they're excited about tonight? I know I'm also working on a couple of other books currently, so there are a lot of things I could be reading tonight, in theory. Also, if you have a preference, yes, I, as you saw, just finished The Foxwife. So how are you liking it? Because I really liked it. So I would be interested to hear what you're thinking. Also, do we have a preference? I don't know. In terms of like, once we start the sprints, I've got the Pomodoro, and I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, Kitty website up to use. I'm not sure if there's a preference in terms of if you like seeing the host on screen during the sprints as well, or if it's okay to turn the camera off. I don't know what the best practice is there. I will admit that I can kind of look like a gremlin when I'm reading, and that I can kind of like hunch up, and I don't know if anyone needs to see that. I respect the reading one book at a time. I really do, because I've gotten into some interesting habits, and it's part like, I mean, it's not only because I'm a mood reader, but I don't know. It's like a combination of like mood reading and different formats being easier to consume at different times, and just being indecisive. I don't even know. So, okay, let me see if I can pull this guy up. Can we all see? All right, can we all see the cat? How are we feeling about the cat? I mean, in the sense that I'm a black cat kind of gal, so it's gonna stay black. But otherwise, Is there any other business we want to discuss before we jump into the sprints? I want to have a little bit of time to kind of hang out here. I don't want to rush us, but I also want to get down to business in terms of, okay, perfect. We're good to go on the cat. So that's good. I did bring up her Ko-Fi as well, since there was a creator behind this counter, so that can add a little tip as well for that, because I am not capable of programming this cat with this little timer. So, alrighty. Do we want to just jump into it? Do we just want to have our nice little work day, school day reading time? I know I'm on a bit of a delay, and that makes everything more awkward too. When we're talking Bridgerton or what have you, it makes it flow just a little quicker. But all right, why don't we start the timer? Unless we have any other pressing business. Again, feel free to pop up, if you're reading The Viscount Who Loved Me now or later, feel free to pop up that story graph and leave your random thoughts. I'm kind of treating it in some ways as like a live tweet of the reading, just kind of random thoughts in there. So thank you all who have been engaging with that so far. And also thank you all who have joined, because I know that I would be putting this off if I wasn't pressured to kind of host in some way, because even with that pressure, I'm only on chapter 2. So with that being said, let's read. Okay, that was cute. That was cute. I'll give it to it. Okay. I get why the cat is so popular now. Okay, how we doing? I got through chapter 2 and I started into chapter 3, which means I'm in the midst of Kate and Anthony, you know how it goes. Z's first meeting, and it is delightful. I also, of course, got a really great Colin scene, which we will talk about all of this more when we do our live dedicated on this book, obviously, but why not chat now as well? But one thing that stood out to me in this moment is that I would label book Colin, especially in the early books, in like the kind of ballroom scenes as mischievous, like how he's playing Anthony and Kate a little bit in this scene. I don't know that I would label show Colin mischievous. Like with his family, yes, but I don't know. Weigh in on that. The cat meows. Okay, we're doing good. We're doing good. Grace, are you working on the Viscount, or what were you working on? I forget already. Because yes. Okay. A lot of us are in the same place. I'm reading this a lot slower than I usually read, admittedly, but that's kind of fun. Also, like, I don't know, I can't be the only one that after a long day of work or any day of work, even with the best of intentions, my brain is kind of moving through molasses. And the older I get, the less I can kind of focus as much as I would like. It used to be worse because I used to be a mortgage underwriter, and at the end of the day, my brain was jelly. But yeah, okay, great. Great, 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 yes. I also found, what was I had a thought just about, I forgot how relatable Kate was in that she's like, I had 4 glasses of lemonade and I need to excuse myself from this conversation because I need to retire to the ladies' room. And I feel seen in that moment. I really do. Yeah, I agree, which makes the juxtaposition of his anger in book 4, I think that's what makes it so much harder. And I know we will dive into all of that much more next month, but yeah. Yeah. Book Colin is almost like a puck of this world in some ways. I also like, no, we'll get into that. We'll get into those thoughts next month. But yes. And of course, you know I love all of the Smythe Smith musicale references that we get in chapter 2 and early into chapter 3. Although I have been searching, confession time, I guess. I've been searching. I can't remember if I have seen, I feel like I had seen at one point an like quote from Julia Quinn talking about her process of revealing Lady Whistledown in the books and how long she had it planned for because of those moments, like things like how she talks about the musicale in the entry to these chapters versus how we see Penelope interact with the musical at the beginning of book 4. So things like that. So I don't know, just random thoughts, but I really like book Kate. So okay, let me see. Let me check on this cat. Okay, the cat is already set for round 2. I didn't put a strict time limit on our kind of in between here because the in between, the talking, the communing is why we are all here. So, well, I mean, we're all here to read. You know what I mean, hopefully. Clearly, I am slightly unhinged in terms of thought process at certain points. So thanks for bearing with me and being here. Okay, do we want to go in for another round, or do we have more that we want to chat about? Any other business to bring forth before we go in for round 2? All right. I'm going to take that as a no unless something pops up. Were we okay with me being off screen, or do you really want to see? You know what? We're just going to go with it. Alrighty. Let's go ahead. Bring this guy back up. Yeah, I have trouble. I have trouble listening to music well. Any ambient noise I've realized, like I really struggle with. So yeah, I feel that. I feel that. Okay. All right. I am going to start the cat. I will see you soon. Okay, that one felt quick. I don't know about you, but all right. So I got halfway-ish into chapter 4, which means we are about to take Newton on a walk. We all know what that means, but well, maybe we don't. Maybe this is your first time, but if you've seen the show, you also know what it means. But one thing I found that stuck out in this section, one, just the whole concept of being stuck in a parlor with someone you hate, having to entertain them with nothing to distract you. You can't read a book. You can't look at your phone. You can't just start playing the most obnoxious music. Like, I understand the tension there and Kate's like horror with that. But speaking of horror, the line where it says, Antony had a sudden vision of being trapped into a marriage with Miss Sheffield the elder, and it made him want to break out into a cold sweat. And what wonderful foreshadowing we have there. So subtle, is it? So that's what I'm kind of sitting with at this moment. How's everyone else faring after the second round? Or your thoughts on my thoughts, or I know a lot of us are in similar places in the book right now. So anything else that stood out or stuck out to you in those sections? I feel like I took another note. I did want to mention, because I forgot last section and at the top, in terms of Bridgerton, just our general thoughts about all of these collaborations with brands, because I'm a little worried, I'm not gonna lie, about like it becoming saturated and like people just getting tired of it. So I don't know. Oh, you're moving quick. Yeah. You're on a roll. I am jealous. Or no, you were a little further ahead starting too, but still. I forget. Now I want to peek ahead and see where we are in chapter 6. I'm going to cheat a little bit. It's not a spoiler because I've read this multiple times. Okay. Anyway, I just want to get to the house party. I want that scene with Penelope. I want the bee scene. You know, the fun stuff. But the lead up is good too. The lead up is good too. And I really like, I mean, we obviously have such different characterizations of the relationship between, well, I mean, the heart is intended to be the same with Kate and Edwina, but just getting like the Edwina that just like loves her nerdy boys, I really appreciate. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. That, and I've been seeing the Ruggables everywhere, and it just feels like there's a lot. And I remember like last, I keep wanting to say last year, but it was last season, there were a decent number of collabs. I know there was the Pat McGrath collab. I haven't seen any rumors of a Pat McGrath collab this year. So, I don't know. But it also begs the question, are we going to get more? Because we still have a significant lead up to the actual series. And will we get a trailer? When will we get a trailer? Will we get both a teaser and a trailer? I don't know. Yeah, I think it's more that it's just like whatever. I forgot about the coffee creamer. Except I think they're trying to spin it as tea creamer because it's berry flavored, so you can't. Maybe that's just my tastes. I don't know. Yeah. I forgot about the jewelry too. Yeah. We can afford the coffee creamer, but do we want it? I like the idea of like trying to make us feel or trying to make our worlds feel luxurious, but I don't know. And the fact that they haven't done any like flower collabs that I've seen, have they? Like with actual florists? I mean, with the way that these brands work, it would be like 1-800 flowers or something, but still, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, you know, I get it. I get it. And they need if these collabs are what help us get more seasons, I will not say anything else about them. I mean, I can spend my money how or not I choose, and you know, we all have that. So listen, I'm all about supporting, yeah, yeah, Etsy artists or small artists, absolutely. And like seeing people get to be creative in that way that like aligns with shared passions. I mean, we're doing that all the time, just talking about it, right? So yeah, I like that side of things for sure. Although tangents, I apologize. Whenever, and I feel like, have we seen it with Bridgerton? I don't remember because you know I walk that fine line of trying to be aware of things, but not trying to go too far down the rabbit hole. Although I've been going further down the rabbit hole lately than usual. But like fan art contests or like things where it's like fan buzz always feel in the social media age like borderline exploitative to me, in the sense it's like we will repost your great work, your great fan art, your great whatever, which again, yeah, you're not going to get paid for fan art generally, like, but we're not, you know, going to compensate that. Oh, they did flowers for Valentine's. Okay, great. Yeah, because like that feels the most obvious to me. Like again, yeah, I'm not going to be able to shell out for the kind of arrangements that speak to the Bridgerton aesthetic. That's a lot of flowers, but I like looking at them. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So, okay. We all seem to be on like similar pages. Like we like indulging, we like looking, but yeah, it feels kind of random sometimes, but listen, I am not part of the publicity team and clearly there's something working there, I guess. And it's honestly exciting to see a romance series have the cachet to pull in something like this. Like the fact that there is this excitement, the fact that it is like a lead, I keep wanting to say lead title when that's like a book term, but like one of Netflix's big projects, like that is still exciting come season 3. All right. Do we want to jump in for another round? Do we have any follow-up thoughts? Anything further for discussion in this moment before we dive back in? All right. I'm going to prepare the cat. My instinct is you're right. I don't know if we've all read it yet. So I could be spoiling. I assume we've all at least seen the show. And I am also kind of speaking with like spoilers in mind. Also, I have thoughts that I've been taking notes. I can't get into the read along right now when I have the cat up. So I will add more thoughts to the storygraph as I go, / add some repeat thoughts that we've talked about here, potentially, like the foreshadowing and what have you. But yes, so if you are making any notes in there, I'm trying to peek in with my reading too, but I can't do any. Okay, I'm going to put up the cat and we're going to start the cat if we're all ready or not. Okay. I was slower that round, and I am into chapter 5, but probably should have finished chapter 5 in actuality. How's everybody else doing? Or did? You know what I mean. I think let's chat here. Let's do one more round, collect ourselves at the end as a game plan, if that sounds good to everybody else. But first, I do want to know how everybody else did that round. I am loving this scene I'm in with Kate and Edwina and just the relationship between them and how Edwina is allowed to be much more astute in the book as well. We love a big moment. Chapter 4 is good. We've got the park. I don't know what that was. The park scene in chapter 4, which is notably different in the book from the show in terms of how drenched Antony gets. I guess, spoiler alert. Though, to be fair, in the Duke and I, if I'm remembering correctly, because it's been a few years since I read that book, both Simon and Antony fall into the body of water in that book because they're fighting over Daphne, of course. So it's kind of allowing us to have that moment with him in the spotlight in the show. But we get a little bit more Newton in the book. I don't know if I had as many notes on these chapters, though. I will say, like, I don't know how I feel about Antony's anger in chapter 4 and, like, the expression of that anger, where it's talking about, like, the vein in his neck popping out and then in his forehead. Like, it's fine, but, like, I don't know. Yeah. Which also, same with Colin. So, like, anger is used as, like, a emotional kind of shield in the books in a way, but in a way that as a modern reader, I don't love. Antony's anger isn't as insecure as Colin's anger, but it's much more controlling, which the fits in that Kate is like the only one who could match him in that way. And we have, of course, the Taming of the Shrew parallels there. I have found myself really wanting to dive in. Okay, sorry. Sorry for any jumping ahead in the convo. Yeah, he does. And condescending as all get out sometimes too. So we need Kate to be able to match that and be rude back to him, because otherwise it already reads not great. And it would read even worse if he was doing that to someone like Edwina. Yeah, it's much more physical too. I feel like, especially, this is obviously not an excuse, because if you know me, if you've been here for a second, you know I will critique it. But it feels like romances of this time use that physicality a lot more. And the physicality is different. Like, the way that kind of like angsty anger is used here is different than the way the angsty anger is used in, like, Sarah McLean, where we have literal street fighters, right? It's just different. And the idea that you have, like, very, like, man of the streets kind of rough and tumble, I'm not saying this well, men in something like Sarah McLean, especially in, like, her Bare Knuckle Bastard series, compared to, like, Antony, who, like, hangs out in ballrooms, at least in the book, most of the time. Like, that's where we see him, other than the scene we do get with him and his brothers in the club at chapter 1. I think it's the end of chapter 1, where, which one was it? Benedict that almost falls out of the chair. So there's just a lot more physicality all around, I think, which I think is part of what helps it translate to the screen, both the dialogue, the quippiness of the dialogue, and the physicality, though they've changed the way that physicality reads on screen. Oh, I forgot to pause the break cat. we're not beholden to the break cat. Do we have any other thoughts related to that? Because that was a good discussion. And I'm sure it's something we will get to much more in depth in our live discussion of the book, especially because of what happens at that house party. I want to say someone already picked up on it in the read along. So it's chapter 7 or 8 that happens in. The biggest moment I'm thinking of. But also then that, I don't know, the juxtaposition then of the tenderness. We'll get into all of that later. So, okay, how are we feeling? Thoughts? Comments? Yeah. Same. I've been really, or had been really worried about the anger in particular. So I think that's going to be especially, and we'll talk about that a lot more with book 4 too. But that had been my biggest. I'm sorry if I just stuck my tongue out there. I'm not really aware of what I'm doing with my face right now. But yeah, that was one of my, speaking of physicality, yeah, I like the physical comedy that comes across for sure. Okay. Want to do one more round? What are we feeling? I mean, I'm going to do one more round. So I hope you also would like to do one more round. But if not, that's fine too. Also, to be, YouTube cliche about it, if you haven't liked this stream, feel free. If you don't like it because I'm being a little too unhinged in my rambles, I get it. I get it. Okay, I'm going to put the cat on. All right. Are we ready, set, let's go. I'm getting that little shiny. How we doing? How'd we do? I got to chapter 6. I'm right in that spot after the Bridgerton musicale in the office. It's starting to sound like a game of Clue, isn't it? You know what I'm talking about if you know, and if you don't, you will most likely know. And it's an excellent, excellent scene. So, I mean, a lot of us probably got to similar spots. Yep. That's a good stopping part. Place. Dear Lord. Oh, I promise that my brain usually works. And that in the future, if we ever do, I would love to do this again. I hope we do this again. And I promise my brain will be a little bit more coherent, or my thoughts a little bit more coherent because of my brain next time. Which we kind of just talked about. So I guess it's like chapter 6 and 7, I think, is where that falls. Which I forgot. I mean, it makes sense logically that it's that early in the book because it can't be after the house party. But I still am like, oh, right. Almost done with chapter 4. Great. Yep. The park. Excellent scene. I've forgotten how tight the beats of the scenes are. And sure, we get a little bleeding, like in chapter 1, it's like declaring of intentions on both parties' side, but like the beats are clear in these scenes. It's like very mapped out. I think I'm gonna have to do like a chart of like the overarching idea of each chapter to kind of keep myself straight for our live stream after the read along. Yeah, I'd love to do it too. Like initially I was thinking once per read along, but if we want to do it again before we're supposed to be done with this book, we can do that too. I will leave it open to people's thoughts. I don't want, to overburden us with live streams, but I like the idea of hanging out in this way as well and just kind of relax, read, hang out. You know the drill. Yeah. I thought, and that's part of the reason I wanted to get the physical book, and I might still go out and do it. I just couldn't bring myself to pay $16-ish for the trade paperback when I've read it so many times and I technically own it. Which would be a great time for me to have a used bookstore that actually sold romance, though who knows if I could even find a copy, but I want to take notes. Yes, much easier. Although I still would probably get distracted. Yesterday, I went to a happy hour at the American Writers Museum, and it was pub themed, and they were playing like bagpipe covers of popular music. So like the Irish pub version of Bridgerton covers, and it was a lot of fun, but I was constantly, placing the music. At one point, I'm pretty sure we were playing bagpipe jock jams or something similar. Thank you so much for popping by. Yeah, I think it's nice to have a nice read after a long day. And I'm glad you popped over too. I really appreciate it. I like that these get-togethers, if you will, are kind of like they feel more community oriented in a lot of ways. It helps connect more than just kind of talking. I'm still talking out into the void theoretically, but you were there to receive it in real time in this moment. Yeah, bagpipes. I mean, the bagpipes weren't live. They were recorded bagpipes. Although there used to be a guy, I used to work in the Gold Coast, and sometimes I would walk along State Street. I don't know that there was a specific time of day that I remember this, but there was some high rise that had a bagpipe player that would be practicing bagpipes at some point in the day. And so you just have to, every once in a while, you just be like, oh, there's the bagpipes. So, and if you are in Chicago, this was my first Writers Museum happy hour, and it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I did go by myself, and it would have been more fun with a friend, just because I was not as outgoing as I kind of hoped to be in terms of making friends there. But, you know, we all have things we can work on. So, yeah. So, anything else anyone's reading other than Bridgerton they're excited about? I know who was reading, I forget already. I'm sorry. Kelly was reading The Foxwife, if she's still here. And who? I've lost it. Yeah, Christy. I thought so. You're reading Murder at the Bake Shop. How is that going? Yeah, exactly. And it's just a cool space too. It's a great institution of sorts, but it's a very small museum. So I've been there multiple times. So I really have kind of seen the exhibits, but they do have a new exhibit coming in soon. And then next month is National Poetry Month. So there will be like poetry things for that. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if I end up there again, but there's a lot going on. So next month is also our read along for Romancing Mr. Bridgerton, which means we are getting very close to the new season, which is very exciting. I wanted to do this so we kind of have something to keep us going and get us excited for, I mean, you know why we're doing this. Good. Investigating. That's a good trajectory to be on. Anybody else have any thoughts? Anything going on that's exciting? Bookish happenings they want to discuss before we disperse? I have never read Brooklyn, which I am kind of ashamed of. Yeah. I need to add that to the list. But I'm also really, my TBR has been, I'm assuming all have overflowing TBRs at this time. So I don't know. Also with Irish, we all hear about the new Sally Rooney book coming out this fall. I don't know if we have any other Sally Rooney fans. I'm going to be really interested to see what that book is. I made a joke that it was announced and I got to work and I told one coworker about it or asked her about it because she had just read Normal People and loved it. And so I lent her my copy of Beautiful World, Where Are You? And then the other coworker I told about it is just because she's Irish. I was just like, did you hear? But yeah. Well, it is getting later, especially if I have any East Coasters here. Yep, TBR is so long. The thing to know about Sally Rooney, you probably do, but she doesn't use quotation marks. So if that is a stumbling block for you, because it is for some people with like no judgment, I get it. It's a stylistic thing that does not land for everyone. So if that doesn't land for you, just something to be aware of. But I really like her writing and I understand why she does it. So yeah. Trying to think if I had any other thoughts that I really should have made notes of anything I wanted to discuss. Were there any other parting Bridgerton thoughts before we leave? Whether it's related to this book, whether it's related to the upcoming season. Now I'm just your teacher. All right, I won't belabor it, but I really appreciate you guys being here. It's been nice. I've enjoyed this. Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot of the book. The flippy floppies, the emotional constipation of the Bridgerton men. Gregory isn't so much constipated as slower, but he's idealistic. He's watched all of his siblings fall in love, and he doesn't know all of the trials and tribulations that they have been through to the extent that some of the other siblings know. I'm trying to think if there are any other relationships, like Bridgerton relationships. We've got the Colin stuff. I just saw Eloise. We, have references to Daphne. We'll get our Penelope. We'll dive fully into the Penelope scene, of course, when we get to that. I love Gregory so much too. He's just precious and idealistic. And I hope we get to him. Like, I know we've optioned all the seasons, but you just never know with Netflix. And I just really want to see him run, especially because, like, surely they will start the season with him just running down the street like the book does, right? That is how it starts, right? I'm not misremembering. I want to say that was one of the first Bridgerton books I read too. I feel like that had just published. What year did On the Way to the Wedding publish? Because I know I read The Duke and I first. I did not read these books in order. Yeah, that tracks. On the Way to the Wedding came out in 2006. So maybe not one of the first, but I don't know. I've lost all sense of time. I would have been like 15 when this came out, or when it came out. So anyway, I will stop babbling into the void, although it is what I'm good at. So thank you all again for hanging out with me tonight. Let's do it again soon. Let me know if you're interested in doing it again, like I said, for Viscount, or if you just want to wait and save it for romancing. We'll do one for romancing either way, but if you want to, get one final push in before we have our full live stream discussion, let me know. So yeah, but otherwise, have a great rest of your night. I want to say have beautiful dreams, but that sounds creepy, doesn't it? Pretend I didn't say that. Yeah, all right. I'll see you later. Have a good one. Like it if you haven't. If you did like it, subscribe if you wanna, if you haven't. And I look forward to seeing you soon. All right. Have a great night. Bye.